Hello, 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 everyone. We are here for another Love Your Liver live stream. I am Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the Nutrition Detective around these here YouTube parts. Today, we have a very special guest in Ronda Holman, the Airway Champion, and we're gonna get to her and all her stuff in just a little bit. First, I wanted to go over just a little announcement. So for those of you who are familiar with EMF Solutions and Sarah Viao, actually she's going by Sarah Leilani now. She's changed her last name. But I wanted to go over, she offered our people, our Love Your Liver people, and anyone who's watching this live stream, a little special on the EMF Solutions product. So just so you know, you can go to the EMF Solutions website and get stuff there. But if you want this deal, you have to go through Sarah. So you can do her, her email is mindbodybalancefl as in Florida, mindbodybalancefl@gmail.com. Joe will post her phone number if you want to text her. And her website is the same as her email. It's mindbodybalancefl.com. But these are what the special is she's offering our folks. If you go through her, or you use the discount code she gave me, which is all caps, it's DRSmith8. Then instead of her normal 5% discount for our people, it's 8%. So you get 8% off the normal prices. And then also if you are in Florida, specifically for Florida people, if you contact her directly, she'll cover your Florida sales and use tax for you. That's only for Florida people though. And then international folks, if you order through her, she will cover, you order through her through email, and she will cover the first $12.99 US dollars of your shipping fee. Okay. This discount is not forever. It goes from today through January 3rd, 2026. So that's it's just her holiday special because she appreciates what I do and you guys so much. She loves you guys as customers. She's always telling me about how great my clients and my customers are that I send her way. So yes, if you want to get any of the EMF solution stuff, I have it. I just went out of town. I took the wall plug-in, the room EMF thing, and I took the Better Z's in my pillowcase, and I always wear my thing in my pocket. Like, I love this stuff. And if you haven't tried it, it helps you feel better. That's what I know from experience. And that's what I hear from people. I've had other people who tell me, I tested it. It doesn't show up anything on the testing. And then they say, but I feel better from it. And I go, that's, as we'll talk to Rhonda about, we're all about function. We don't, there's lots of things in this life we don't understand. But if we figure out how it works and we can make it work better for us, then that is really what we're after. So, okay. So there's that. And again, if you have any questions or stuff about that special, don't email Julie. Contact Sarah directly. Her number will be either in the comments or it was just put here. Her email was it'll either be in the comments or it'll be here. And then her website, mindbodybalancefl.com. So contact Sarah about anything you want, any questions about this. This is not our special. This is hers. So contact her. Okay. So, oh, and then if you forgot any of this info, it'll be in a newsletter, probably a couple newsletters to come, but it only goes until December 3rd. So make sure you jump on that. Okay. So now let's get into Rhonda's stuff. Hold on. Let me, Kelsey sent another question. Kelsey was going to be with us today, but due to issues beyond our control, she'll be in the live chat, but she won't be live with us. So let's go into Rhonda's bio and the stuff I want you to know about her. Okay. So her links will be her links are down in the info box, and then also we'll post them in the live chat. So Ronda Holman, you're a myofunctional therapist, right, Rhonda? Right?
I have training in myofunctional therapy.
Okay, cool, great. Just wanted to, I didn't catch that. I wanted to check, but she is the author of the American Dental Association endorsed Breathe Better While You Sleep, a recovering mouth breather and floppy tongue owner guide. And we'll go over both of those things. She is also the co-founder of Airway Coach, a groundbreaking initiative that empowers individuals to improve their breathing during sleep through simple daily protocols and systems. That is at airwaycoach.com. I've looked through the book quite a bit. And these are very simple, very, what's the word? Very, you can put them into practice very easily. It's a lot of good, useful stuff. So anyway, so let's go on. She has worked tirelessly to educate patients and the public about the harmful effects of mouth breathing on overall health. Her passion for airway health stems from her own journey, as it does for so many of us. Growing up with an undiagnosed airway disorder, she struggled with upper airway resistance syndrome until the age of 37. Following extraction, retraction, orthodontics at age 12. That sounds heavy duty. Faced with declining oral health and nightly breathing challenges, she made a life-changing decision to prioritize her airway health and now dedicates her mission to helping others do the same. She's committed to raising awareness about the biomechanics of breathing and the profound consequences of over-breathing and mouth breathing on sleep quality. She helps others understand the critical difference between merely surviving through sleep and truly thriving with restorative sleep. This is important. Her work bridges the connection between airway health, breathing, and the root causes of many non-communicable diseases, empowering individuals to advocate for their health and well-being. And then Joe already posted her link. So, and then, Joe, also post the Substack when you get that. That Substack is about a person who worked with Rhonda, who she helped a lot. So it's a testimonial to her work. So thank you for joining us today, Rhonda.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for having me. I'm excited. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So I'm just excited to be here.
Awesome. It was a funny coincidence, or it's what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having trouble finding words this morning, but I found out you used to work in dentistry, right?
Yes.
So my dad was a dentist, and Kelsey's mom is a recently retired dentist. So I thought it was funny that we're all kind of coming to this from dentistry and the things that it can do well and the things that it may not be helping people with. So, so let me get into the questions you had put. There we go. Or I'm sorry, the topics that we were going to talk about. So let's start here. So sleep quality being driven by breathing quality and how airway resistance or things getting in the way of your breathing messes with sleep. Let's start there.
So sleep is a science. I think somebody's coined that term already, but they're not wrong. It is not an accident that you get 8 solid hours of deep restorative and reparative sleep. It takes effort, especially in this modern world that is doing everything it can to throw stuff at us that make it harder to breathe while we sleep. And it's interesting because I developed this guide because I know that most of us can't escape current times, right? So how can we adapt and live in the modern world without having so many of the side effects? And one of the biggest side effects, and inflammation is the driving factor for almost everything we're struggling with, and it affects your upper airway. And the thing is, because of our modern lifestyle, pacifiers, bottles, car seats, sippy cups, you name it, all these modern conveniences, they're really impacting our children's ability to grow a face for airway space. So what may not have been a big deal with aging, the natural decline of collagen wouldn't have been a big deal 40, 50 years ago, is now starting to impact us at a much younger age because there's structurally less room for air to begin with. And then we throw inflammation and laxity and poor sleep hygiene and poor nasal hygiene and bad sleep environments and sleep postures. And it just wrecks our ability to get air in and out of our body easily. And if you can't breathe at night, you're not going to sleep well.
Right. Yeah. So we're coming at this from, as we kind of talked about before this, we're coming at this from two different angles. So the inflammation thing, we work on that, biochemically, systemically, and we have a lot of people improve their sleep that way. And then I know personally, this sounds funny, but I have a gigantic tongue. It's huge. And it's with sleep. I know that if I sleep on my back at all, I'm snoring. It's all in my throat. So yeah, a lot of these things. And then I had orthodontics. So orthodontics were changing the structure. So I think a lot of these things that you're talking about, where most of the modern, I totally appreciated you saying, we're trying to function in this modern world, because a lot of people are just just go off grid and just go live in the woods. And people are like, are you out of your mind? We kind of have modern people and they want to live in the modern world, but they want to figure out how to do it without basically slowly or quickly sending themselves underground early. So yeah, we're working on, the modern conventional system tends to brace everything, right? Take all the stresses off, and then there's no stresses, and then we have problems because of that. We're going to get into that. And then they're just, everything's bracing and everything's like trying to make it easier for people. I'm going, the human body kind of needs like resistance, you know, in a way, not in like airway resistance way, but in a resistance kind of way, like with, when we'll talk about the Myo-Nozzle and stuff like that, helping to build strength and all that stuff. So let's get into the next part. Nasal breathing. Very important. Tell us how that supports your deep sleep by filtering, humidifying, and pressurizing the airflow.
I love this one. I have so many people that say, but I can't breathe through my nose. And so that's when people like Dr. Smith come in and say, hey, let's work on your diet and nutrition. Let's see what you're deficient in. Let's see what your toxic levels are. And then let's help you get your nose to open up. But a lot of it is a use it or lose it organ. A lot of people just talk all day and they skip mouth breathing, or they skip the nose breathing and they're only mouth breathing. And so the tissues and the inflammation start to gather inside the nose itself. It has a 6-step filtration system. So the small holes slow down the air, right? So you're trying to get less air in. There's hairs inside your nose. They're the first filter, right? They're filtering out like all the big chunks and debris floating around. I don't know if you guys have ever looked like on a sunny day and you look at the window and you see all these little flakes of skin and fabric just floating in the air. You breathe that in. It doesn't just stay up there. It's everywhere. So if you skip those filtration steps and you go straight right into the mouth, you're skipping the hairs that filter the big stuff out. There's turbinates that help to reduce the air. There's mucus in your nose that, again, is filtering the air. It warms it up. It spins it around. It goes past your adenoids and tonsils. So it's got 6 steps of filtration before it hits your lungs. That alone makes you healthier if you're just using your body properly. This is a backup hole, and it needs to be used as such. But the problem is so many people walk around mouth sighing, their mouth pops open, they're breathing through their mouth all night. And I was just looking last night. I was at the ADA building when Christian Guilleminault, he was the one who first understood apnea hypopnea index. And he said, the minute you mouth breathe, inflammation starts. Like, it's the root cause is dysfunctional breathing. Because again, you're skipping all those steps and your body has to work overtime for you bypassing the proper function of it. And again, nasal hygiene. I don't know about you, but my mom never sat with me and talked about like how to blow my nose and how to use saline. And I was just, you blew your nose half the time. I pretended just because I knew there was a sound when she held the tissue up to my face. There's a lot of things we're losing, and we're combating the inflammation, the food, causing this excess mucus in these kids. They're eating these goldfish crackers and they can't breathe at night.
Yeah, we see a lot of that with mucus. We get a lot of people to just reduce their dairy and then they can breathe again. I remember as a kid, one of the first nutrition connected to health things that I had was I was about 15. I would drink a glass of milk, and about halfway through the glass of milk, I could feel the phlegm starting. It was wild. Like, that was one of the first things I want, because my thing, I've always detoxed. I call it detox, but I've always detoxed a lot through my sinuses. Like, other people detox other places, but my sinuses, like, so when I am not feeling well, there's tons of stuff there. But yeah, the nasal breathing, folks. Sad thing is, like, the word mouth breather came about because it was associated with people not thinking as well. So you definitely want to facilitate nasal breathing. So let's go into, so then what does mouth breathing do?
Well, mouth breathing, one, it alters the pH in your mouth. So saliva is present on the teeth and gums to keep the mouth in a certain pH and to keep it protected. The minute you pop open and start breathing through your mouth, you run the risk of having decay and buildup and, candida grow on your tongue. Like, there's so many things. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the mouth can't stay healthy if it's dry. It's like other tissues. for females specifically, if they're dry, they go south real quick. So the mouth, it has to stay wet. And the minute you start mouth breathing, you are creating an environment where decay and gum disease can thrive.
Yeah, that actually, there's a funny coincidence with the work I do, which is they looked at Accutane and the rate of cavities after Accutane, because Accutane is known to be one of the worst medicines to dry up the saliva. And they saw that the rate of dental issues after Accutane, which is the active form of vitamin A, went like through the roof. So obviously mouth breathing, I mean, all of us have known, like when we're stuffed up, right? We go to sleep and your mouth is so painfully dry when you wake up. And that's, your saliva protects your teeth, folks. So you definitely want to keep that good. And then the other thing I was just thinking about with the mouth breathing, when you were talking about the nasal breathing, I was like, when you were talking about the dust in the air, I was like, you wouldn't want to eat that dust, right? But if you're mouth breathing, you're basically eating the dust out of the air. Instead of your nose catching it and you could blow it out, then you're ingesting all that nasty dust in the air, the microplastics and the dead skin and what, I mean, they say what, 90% of the dust in your house is your skin. So, okay, now this is something I've worked on myself, and I want to know if you address this in the book, in your book, but you're talking about proper tongue posture. What can you tell us about that?
Yes. Okay, here's the quick, simple, and easy answer. You ready? It is impossible to breathe through the wrong hole if your tongue is in the right place. And the right place is suction to the roof of your mouth from the tip to the back gently. A lot of people don't realize that. They'll say my tongue is in the middle or at the bottom, and that's because their tongue is weak or it's tethered. Like there's a tissue underneath that's a little too tight and it's preventing it from being able to seal to the roof of the mouth. The thing is, this doesn't happen overnight. It's not like I was 29 and then my tongue stopped staying up. It's never been up for most of us. Pacifiers, they're a huge cause outside of the tongue ties. It just trains the tongue to swallow improperly, and it prevents the tongue from sealing to the roof of the mouth during development.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so in the book, do you talk, I know there's like drills and instructions and that stuff. Do you have stuff in the book about that?
I do. I have a whole chapter. Let's see, what's it called? The tongue controls the front of your upper airway. Okay. And it really does. Like if the tongue can't stay suctioned to the roof of your mouth during sleep, you can't hold up your soft palate. You can't posture the mandible forward. You can't keep the hose behind your mouth open.
Yeah, because I used to recommend the Mewing app. Or you still talk? Oh shoot, you were still talking. We lost your sound.
Uh-oh.
Okay, what were you just saying? We lost your sound for a second.
I was saying that if the tongue isn't in the right place, the tube, which is the airway, will collapse.
Okay, so Joe just told me everybody else heard you, but I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hold on. We have a bit of a lag on your feed. It's like 10 seconds. So, Joe, you got any way we can fix that? Do you know anything about how? Sorry, what was that?
Should I leave and come back in?
I don't know. It sounds like you guys. Okay, so Joe says you guys are hearing her, but I'm not hearing you until later. Anyway, let me hold on. We'll do some live troubleshooting. Are there any background apps that you can turn off, or anything that we can slow or make your computer go faster? There you are. Okay, so say something now.
Something now.
Okay, now I can hear you on time. Good, great. Okay, so I think we got it. Your video may be lagging, but I think your sound is okay.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so sorry about that. Let's see. So let me find the next thing. Oh yeah. So what I was saying was I used to recommend the mewingapp.co, but that app has tons of glitches and bugs, and they really need to figure out. I think they need to put it on like a website instead of an app. But if what you have in the book is quite simple, I'll send people to your book instead, because the glitchy app is no good. And it's all the tongue placement. What I was telling people to get, you might agree with this, when I would tell them to go to the app, is I would say, here's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get the proper tongue placement. You're trying to get the swallowing, the tongue push swallow kind of thing, and then where to put your tongue, how to do it when you sleep. So if your book addresses all three of those, then you just get your book and you don't have to worry about the app. And then you have all the other stuff in the book.
It
where
does.
you go way beyond it. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, because you can't breathe better while you sleep unless you address proper tongue posture.
I tried doing the tongue posture where you said you can't breathe through your mouth when you do it. And I had to break my tongue off the roof to do it. So you're absolutely right. Okay. So let's get into that now. So let's get into, well, you talked about, so the weak or the low tongue posture, the tongue on the bottom of your mouth. What does that contribute to?
So if you think about the tongue, the back of it's designed to hold up your soft palate. So if your tongue isn't suctioned to the roof of your mouth, that means it's floating in the bottom, and it can't act as a natural splint for your TMJs. So what a lot of people will do, they'll compensate with accessory muscles in the face, and then they come to me and say, oh, I have migraines, I have headaches, my face hurts when I wake up, I'm clenching, I'm grinding. And I'm like, well, where's your tongue? Because there's a chance that it's not in the proper position, and it's preventing your mandible from staying where it needs to be to keep the tube behind it open. And then I also see a lot of people who have a tongue thrust. They'll never know it, other than they'll say there's a gap between my front teeth. And so if you have them like retract their lips and swallow, you'll see the tongue either come forward or come out the sides. So the thing is with the tongue is you won't be able to get it to stay suctioned to the roof of your mouth while you sleep if you can't swallow properly. So like you can't have one without the other. You could do all the exercises. I could give you a ton of tools, a ton of different workouts, but if you're not swallowing properly, it won't maintain that strength and it really won't do much for you. So the swallowing is such a big part of this.
Should we hit on that right now? The little Myo-Nozzle?
Let's do it. All right. So the number one way I suggest to resolve an improper swallow is by using a tool called the froggy mouth.
Okay.
You can get it direct to consumer. I think it's through AFTC North America. I don't know if that those are the letters, but I'm not sure if they're in the right order. Hang on. But otherwise you can get it through an airway focused dentist, orthodontist, or myofunctional therapist, or speech language pathologist. And what it does is it prevents you from compensating and makes your body learn to swallow properly. So it keeps your lips open and you're in front of a screen or you're reading a book. It's about 15 minutes, but it's a neurological appliance. So it's nothing about resistance or, just repatterning off of training. It's reprogramming your brain to swallow properly. Okay. You don't have to have it, but it is one of the quickest ways to get your swallow squared away.
And you're swallowing, I'm assuming you're doing swallowing reps while you have that in, right?
You swallow like 2,000 times a day, just saliva. So yeah, you're naturally going to swallow. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you just wear it for 15 minutes and just go about your day?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's also the Myo-Nozzle, right?
Yes. So that's resistance training to strengthen the back of our tongue that's super weak just because of a modern diet, potential pacifier and bottle use. Like for me, the more I was mouth breathing, the more my tongue muscles would atrophy. There's 8 in there. And it's hard to isolate all 8 at one time, but the most important clump of muscles in the genioglossus is the back. And that's really hard to improve the strength of, so it stays up while you sleep. And the Myo-Nozzle, it's REMplenish. It is one of the only tools I've found on the market that actually does what it says it's going to do. There's so much money I've put into this on things that don't work. And this guy works. And so I try to tell people it's like sucking a really thick milkshake through a very small diameter straw. So if you've ever done that, you know how hard it is on the back of your tongue. It kind of burns. You're like, ugh, I'm going to wait till this thing melts a little bit and then suck it through the straw. But this is passive workout, and 30 to 60 ounces a day of just water, which is great for hydration anyways with your electrolytes. It works out your tongue so that you can breathe better while you sleep.
Yeah, I've had my bottle for, I don't know, a month and a half maybe. And I really, I try, I learned about the kind of tongue push swallow before, but it was, you swallow so many times a day. It's hard to, it was hard for me to mentally make myself do it. Cause it's like, I'm just going to eat and I'm going to drink and I'm going to do it like I always have. And then as soon as, when I had this as my trigger of saying, okay, I'm actually specifically drinking out of this thing, so I'm supposed to focus on my swallow. That really helped me. Just the physical thing. I should probably do more, but I do about a bottle of this a day.
That's 24 ounces or 26.
Yeah, 26. So it's close to the 30. I was like, I'm good. And then I'm purposely now I'm remembering to do it more. And I know that, I'm training myself to do it. So I'll do it more when I'm not drinking out of it. But yeah, I really like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
My favorite thing to say is if you skipped breastfeeding, the REMplenish nozzle will help you learn what you missed. It's essentially breastfeeding.
Yeah.
It's the same process a human nipple will elongate and collapse. And it's a very small holes that you drink through.
I wanted to add for those of you folks out there who have trouble swallowing capsules, like you have a swallowing issue, like with your tongue, it's not working right. It's actually said that like formula feeding changes how you swallow, right? You know this, and that may be. So if you have real trouble with swallowing capsules, you're probably swallowing wrong. And these two things that Rhonda and I just talked about could probably help you learn how to swallow better. So
absolutely.
So Rhonda, do you agree?
Yeah. So typical things you hear after someone who's been using the nozzle for about a month is I can swallow pills better and I don't choke. My gag reflex is so minimized compared to what it was. They'll say things like, my mouth stays wet at night, because if your tongue stays up, you're less likely to have your lips pop open. It's not a guarantee. You still have to do lip exercises to get the seal, but most people will say that when my tongue goes up, my lips naturally close. It's just an easier posture to hold.
Yeah, it's kind of like your own internal mouth taping, right?
Exactly.
That's what I never wanted to do, the mouth taping. I tried it a couple times and I was like, I'm just not going to do this. And then I learned the tongue position, and then I was like, wait, this does it for me. So some people might still need some help, right? And you talk about taping and other things in the book, but yes, some people may need some more help. I'm interested in the lip training that you're doing. Cause I may need a little bit of that. I'm with the new mouth guard I'm using. I could use a little bit of help with that. But I wanted to actually confirm. So you're advising with the tongue posture, you're also advising a slight space between the teeth. Yes.
Yes. 1 to 3 millimeters. It turns the masseter muscles off.
Yes. I wanted to go over that because I specifically, when I tried mewing and learning it just off the internet, everybody said, put your teeth together. And I think the mewing guy says, put your teeth together. And I did that. And I flared up the worst episode of TMJ I'd ever had in my life. I felt like to keep them together, but not clench. I was constantly thinking about like together, but not clenching, together, but not clenching. And then it flared up a TMJ that stayed for months until I stopped it. And then I learned that, you can keep your teeth apart. And I actually think now that based on everything I'm learning, that is a that is the position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say that I totally agree with you on that. Okay. So let's get to, what are the common signs of airway dysfunction? What could people recognize in themselves?
Well, open mouth posture, step number 1. Are my lips open at rest? So if someone's engaging in conversation with you and you're in active listening mode, check your lip posture. If your lips are open, you're pretty much guaranteed to be a mouth breather. If your lips are open while you sleep, you're probably a mouth breather. If you have dirty teeth, I have a ton of people. They're like, I get a cleaning like every 3 months and they're still coated with biofilm. And I'm like, that's because they're so dry. And I love it when I would put disclosing agent on, which is like a dye. Okay. So it dyes biofilm on the teeth, and the teeth in the front would be the dirtiest and the back teeth would be clean. I'm like, don't you think this is a little strange that the ones that are easiest to get to are the dirtiest? Don't you think there could be something that you're doing specifically to cause this imbalance? And it really helps people realize, oh, you're right. My lips are open. My teeth need to stay wet to stay clean and dry and healthy, or sorry, clean and healthy. Another thing for most of us, clenching and grinding, that's usually indicative of mouth breathing. I will see malocclusion, right? So if you're a mouth breather, you'll have teeth that don't line up straight, or you'll have some type of discrepancy. You'll see a lot of times people who are mouth breathers, their face starts to melt. As they age, it's interesting because they're like, I used to have a chin. It wasn't much of a chin, but now it's just, connected directly to my neck. I'm like, oh, where's your tongue? I think you might be mouth breathing, because that's not normal. Like, you're supposed to keep that definition between your chin and your neck. Your headaches, a ton of migraines. That was like one of my wake up calls, was the neurologist said, I can't help you. And I was like, what do you mean you can't help me? They're like, well, we don't know what's causing your migraines. So all I can do is advise that you take an NSAID when you start to get the headache. And I didn't like that answer. And I was like, it's not normal for me to wake up every day and my face hurt and my head hurt and my mouth be dry and my teeth are getting short. Like, I was grinding my teeth so much. It's almost always, if somebody has obstructive sleep apnea, you're going to see their front teeth get flat. And you'll see it in the older population.
Like flat,
yeah, you'll wear through them. Because they're the thinnest teeth in your mouth. They're the ones up front. And if you can't breathe, your body's going to jet your jaw forward to open up your airway while you sleep. And it's going to sacrifice the teeth every time.
Wow. Actually, Rhonda, you can hear me, right?
Yep.
What we're going to do to try to get the lag gone is I'm going to have you jump out and then jump back in.
All righty. I'll see you in a minute.
I put the link in the Telegram chat in case you need it. So just
Perfect.
Come on back and we'll see you in 1 sec. Okay, cool. So while she's on her way back, I just wanted to add some things from my personal experience with my son. I remember when my son had health issues, and my son has allergies, and he had trouble breathing. And I could hear him mouth breathing at night. And I didn't do any of this stuff with him. I'm not saying it's not valuable. Don't get me wrong. We wouldn't be talking here if it wasn't valuable. But we fixed more of his diet, and we did more of the vitamin A stuff, avoiding vitamin A, and he stopped the mouth breathing. Now he knows about, he's old enough to know about mewing and the tongue posture and stuff like that. And he eats better and with much, much less dairy than he used to. And we got rid of that. So hopefully she'll be back soon. The other thing I mentioned last week, the Revive mouth guard. I started with that. I'm liking it. I'm actually feeling shifts happening. It does actually, like stuff that Rhonda's talking about, it does actually help. They advertise it as a little bit of a snoring mouth guard, but it does help move your jaw a little bit forward at night. I think it's absolutely going to be helpful, and I'm excited about it. So anyway, oh, there she is again. Okay, so I was just going over a little bit of my personal experience with my son's mouth breathing, how we changed his diet, and it helped. And he learned some of the tongue posture, and he fixed his diet. And I used to hear him mouth breathe at night, and now that's all gone. So that's kind of cool. So Ron and I were talking earlier about how a bunch of people, a bunch of the leaders in their fields are coming to solutions for problems. They're generally getting there. And the smartest people are realizing that there's multiple causes to all these things, folks. So, if you were doing all your diet and detox and nutrition and your tongue posture is terrible, then that may not fix it. That's not going to fix itself automatically. So you need to learn these things. So that's why I've been getting into more of the physical stuff lately in terms of helping people, because you can do all the chemical stuff in the world, but as I've said, your toxicity and deficiency can often make your body, you could say, forget or become a little dumb. And so it doesn't know what to do right. And so you have to train it again. And that's what we're talking about here. So anyway, so let's get into forward head posture.
The body is an amazing compensator, right? We talked about that earlier. So if I can't breathe, I'm going to lean forward so I can open up my airway.
That's wild. I hadn't thought of that.
Automatically. It's not like everyone's like, oh, fix your posture. I'm like, no, fix your breathing, and then your posture will autopilot back to normal.
See, that's another interesting thing that I was just mentioning about the physical stuff, because when I started on that new mouth guard I mentioned, one of the very first things I noticed was I felt like you know how you can like try to do the like lifting through your spine, right?
Mm-hmm.
To like feel like you're real tall. I felt like that happened automatically. And I was kind of going, I don't feel like I could do more. Like, I feel like it's actually already there. And I'd read about people having that, but then I went, that was wild that it just happened like that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was my dad's teeth. As a dentist, right? His teeth were completely flat across. He was a terrible grinder. I mean, it was one line across his teeth. And I was wondering, I was like, I don't know anybody else's teeth who are like that. But yeah, so we may have some, you know, there could be that large tongue thing genetically. Who knows? But yeah, so let's get into the forward head posture is amazing. So let's get into what tends to cause the nasal tissues inside to swell.
Dairy. 500. You know, there's.
I mean, is that a real answer for you? Does dairy a big cause of that?
One. It does. I mean, it just is one of the most mucus producing foods that we can put inside our body. And that's what we give our kids, you know. It's like, hey, breathe through your nose. Oh, wait, here's a cup of milk. Like, you can't have both.
Right.
The sugars, I mean, you know, they put it in the baby formula. These kids are getting addicted at an early age, and that's, you know, the number 2 inflammatory food. And then you look at the glyphosate we were talking about earlier, just the pesticides and the gluten and the genetically modified corn and the seed oils. Like, there's so much in these, you know, ultra processed foods that our body is just trying to combat with mucus, because mucus is a protective thing. It's trying, but to our own detriment. And, you know, because it occludes the nose. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of funny, because the number 1 and number 2 most allergy prone foods in humans, dairy and eggs, right? And I just have a funny analogy about those things. If you think of a runny egg yolk and you think of melted cheese, they're both like mucus. They're both almost exactly like mucus. So it's like eat one, it may create the other. And then I actually think I've told this story many times. I think I caused my son's anaphylactic allergies to tree nuts because I gave him, when he was weaning, I gave him goat milk. And that's even higher in vitamin A than cow milk. And he was drinking about 1 gallon a week of goat milk just weaning. So yeah, the vitamin A, and then they add more vitamin A and D to the milk, which, if you go into the research, allergies and childhood vitamin A are completely connected. So we get into these connections, and then there's that inflammation thing. And then there's also, like, as you would know, people who have broken their nose or a deviated septum or all that stuff. Then you have the actual like mechanical blocking that may need to be addressed in some other way. Do you have any tips on that, dealing with that?
I mean, like 80% of us, I think, is the estimate that I read, of us have nasal deviation. Like, just because of our cranium's not growing properly. We have, you know, so it's a very common problem. But yeah, having injury and making that deviation worse, or, you know, completely occluding one side of the nose. Again, septoplastics tend to help people in the short term, but a lot of times they'll say within a couple of months they start to regress again, because they weren't taught to breathe through their nose, and they weren't, you know, taught to eat these collagen precursor foods and, you know, work on strengthening their tongue and the muscles around the upper airway. And so the inflammation comes right back, and it's like they never even had anything fixed.
Yeah, it was like, think of what they could have done if they did all that stuff before they got the surgery, right?
Yes.
Surgery is the lazy way out. So that a lot of people will take it. It's the magic pill, right? This will fix your problems. So then you don't have to do anything on your own. And I tell people here that like what we do is work. Like this is effort. This is consistency. This is, I don't want to say discipline is getting a bad name these days, but like it's not, well, I'm not discipline. I mean, motivation, where people have to be motivated. The discipline of just doing these things can really change your life, basically.
Yeah.
Kelsey's been working on a lot of the airway and the breathing stuff, and it has, as we're going to do our show, Kelsey and I are going to do a show on this later, but it has literally changed her life. I've been watching it daily, like changing her energy and her productivity and all that stuff. So, okay, so let's get into, well, kind of the opposite of that was anti-inflammatory nutrition and hydration. Did you want to add anything else on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, most of us are chronically dehydrated, and we have no idea that, sea salt is, going to help our cells open up and hydrate. They're like, oh, salt is bad. Like half the conflicting information is just making people worse.
Right.
I mean, you're battling the vitamin A right now and copper and zinc and just understanding how everything's connected. And 5 years ago was the vitamin D K2 battle.
Well, we're big on the anti-vitamin D here.
Right. It's interesting because people, they do want that silver bullet, right? There's a pill for my ill. I want the shortest, like if I can't buy the solution, is it really a problem? We're so conditioned to think that you can purchase any solution. And it's not that. We're reprogramming the software and the hardware. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I can make what you have work better so that you can breathe better while you sleep, so you can get better sleep. You can get all the deep sleep you deserve and all the REM sleep you deserve. You can have dreams again, stop tossing and turning, getting up to use the bathroom. No more snoring or clenching and grinding your teeth. Your mouth stays wet. You get to like sleep on your back again. You were talking earlier, like it's not fair that our breathing dictates whether we can sleep on our back for our spine health or not. That's not fair. We should be able to sleep in any posture and not suffocate.
Right. Yeah. So this looks so you mentioning not dreaming, like I rarely dream. Mm-hmm. And so there are times when I do, and I'm like, what did I do? What did I do to make it happen? And so, and I had it better. I used to dream more when I don't know, maybe my 30s. And as you probably know, as these problems, if they're not addressed, they just fester and they get worse and worse and worse. Because, muscle weakness, if you don't address it, your muscles get weaker and weaker and weaker and all this stuff. And then inflammation, you keep eating the same way, you keep getting more toxic and all that stuff, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So yeah. So these things, folks, so somebody might say, well, the Myo-Nozzle, that's just to buy something to fix it. And it's like, no. Or the froggy mouth. Right. This is something to actually retrain the muscles. And in theory, you won't need it forever. If you do the right thing and you keep doing it, then you don't need it forever. Whereas the advertisement for like the septoplasty is do this once, suffer through it, and it'll fix all your breathing problems. And then it doesn't quite work out because the magic bullets don't really exist. So, okay. So let's get into the myofunctional and tongue exercises. Because I'm interested in some of the tongue exercises. I tried moving my tongue, doing the twist the other day, and one side was not equal to the other. So
it's interesting. So we talked about there's 8 muscles inside the tongue, right? So you get extrinsic and intrinsic. There's different exercises to isolate different muscle groups. I like to stick to like the top 5. Mm-hmm. Because I have a whole book. When you go through the OMT course, it's like 300 different exercises. But at some point, you're like, just give me the 5 most impactful ones, because those are the ones I'll probably do every day. So I went through and I was like, what can I do AM and PM until my tongue is strong enough to stay suctioned while I sleep to the roof of my mouth? And so I really like the Jawbreaker. It's resistance training using your own body parts. So you're taking the tip of your tongue and you're pushing out your cheek to make it look as if you're holding a candy called the Jawbreaker. Now, the key is you're nasal breathing while you do this, and you're preventing your teeth from closing down on your tongue. And almost every exercise that I do, it's 30-second intervals, and I do 3 sets. Some people just do till fatigue, and that works too. Like, and if you can't do it for 30 seconds, then do it for 20 seconds. If you can't do it for 20, do it for 10. And it's just like any other workout. The more you isolate those muscle groups and you start to like actually grow the muscles, the easier the exercises get. And I say this to a lot of people too with the REMplenish, is they're like, oh, it's so hard to use. I'm like, just using it will make it easier to use. So this is the Jawbreaker. And as you see, it'll look like you're holding a round piece of candy in your cheek, and you hold that for 30 seconds. And you'll do each side. And what most people will see is they have a lot of asymmetries in the musculature of the face. And so if you pick a side, say you're pushing left and it feels harder, I would double down on the side that it feels harder, because you're actually strengthening the opposite side of the tongue. I love that one. I love tongue to the spot. So the incisive papilla is what we call the spot. It is about 3 millimeters behind the 2 front teeth on most humans. So it's that first black dot right there. Sometimes you'll feel it. It'll feel like a little raised bump. For mine, it's not very pronounced, so I had to like learn where to put the tip of my tongue when I swallow. But just doing the tongue to the spot helps a lot.
Okay.
And then there's a skinny tongue where you stick your tongue straight out. If you've seen the Christmas Story, I mean, we're coming up on that time of year where the kid gets his tongue tips like frozen to the pole in the schoolyard. Yep. We want to emulate that. So you're flexing your tongue to comes to a point, and then you're holding it. And then the cave, which is where you suction your tongue to the roof of your mouth and you open as wide as you comfortably can. I love this one because this is what your tongue should be doing when you're not using it anyways. All you're doing with this exercise is showing it off.
Right. And
people are like, I don't understand suction. So the best way to do that is to learn the click sound. So each time you make that click sound, your brain can be like, oh, that's the feeling of suction before the sound. That's how I know what suction's supposed to feel like. And the stronger your tongue, I get grief all the time. They're like, oh, your tongue looks so weird. There must be a tongue tie. I did have a tongue tie. I had a functional release like in 2018. So a lot of people think it's going to be a dramatic difference in the appearance of a tongue tie, but it's not that way. They just released the fascia that was restrictive. If you have a tongue tie, you will not be able to create suction on the roof of your mouth, regardless of how much exercises you do, especially if it's in the posterior region. And we were talking earlier about like Ehlers-Danlos. So that's a connective tissue disorder. And a lot of people with that, they have a frenum like under their tongue, but it's usually submucosal. So it's hard to see. And then, it's just a little bit extra, right? Their nasal valve collapse is a little bit more prone. The flaccidity of the upper airway itself, the hypermobility allows them to collapse them a little bit more. Near the sphincter of the stomach could open more often, allowing acid into the airway, making more inflammation, making it harder to breathe. But there's a lot of people that think they have to get a tongue tie release, but what they really need is to make the whole musculature of the tongue stronger to get it suctioned up there. And then they realize, and I'm learning too, like each year I'm less quick to advise a tongue tie release. Even having gone through it myself, I realize now that fascia can be manipulated if we give it the right signals, right? And we're consistent. And I think a lot of people, they say you can't stretch your way out of a tongue tie. And that is true for a lot of tongue ties that are like a class 3. But for the majority of humans, just like we were talking about, how many of us have nasal deviations, we can make what we have work better. And you only really, at rest, if your teeth are 1 to 3 millimeters apart and you need to get the back of your tongue to like reach up to your soft palate, you're only talking a couple millimeters of extension to create that seal. And so I'm on the camp of like, let's wait and wait and wait and wait. Even with red light therapy, there's like a lot of options now to release the fascia non-surgically or with a laser. I think sometimes those are the first things that doctors do when I think should be the last.
Yeah, no, the human body is amazing at remodeling if it's put under the right pressures. I mean, you can put it under the wrong pressures and have it remodel the bad way, but you can also put it under the right pressures and have it remodel. I mean, remember, like muscles pull on bones.
Wolf's
So
law.
we can change. I mean, people have seen, like, people can go and look at my videos from like 6 years ago, and my facial structure is different than it was. So these things can be changed. And so, yeah, so running to surgery the first, and then if you run to surgery again, I always tell people, like, after surgery, right, your body in many ways gets dumb because it was damaged. So then you're going to have to retrain all that stuff, right? So, yeah. Oh, Kelsey was adding. So Kelsey had asked that hypermobility question. She was saying she was hypermobile before, and she had lots of the like tests where you can do them and see if you're hypermobile, and those have all gone away for her. She had really bad copper toxicity, and we've gotten rid of most of it. And like I was saying earlier, copper toxicity can be connected to apnea. And so she's been fixing the hypermobility that's associated with that. But she says she's having to retrain the muscles and all of that stuff because the toxicity just makes things dumb and it doesn't relearn. Like if somebody gets in a car accident, they break their back, they have to learn how to relearn how to walk. Right. So it happens all over the body. So anyway, let's get into, thank you for this exercise. And you go over those exercises in the book.
I do. Yes.
Do you have videos or you just talk about them? Like,
so I'm the co-founder of a company called Airway Coach. It's a virtual coaching service for those who can't DIY this journey.
Awesome. That's great. Some people like the extra help. Some people are fine with just reading it. So that's great. Okay. Oh, this might be me. So let's talk about the people who are labeled as insomniacs and what one of their causes might be. Okay.
So if you suffocate every night you go to sleep, would you look forward to going to sleep? It's your body innately has this PTSD of sorts. For a lot of my clients, I see it when their breathing gets better, they get excited about going to sleep. And it's multifactorial, right? I mean, we're talking sleep hygiene, circadian rhythms, diet, nutrition, like all of that plays into melatonin being released and avoiding blue light and all these different things. But at the end of the day, if you don't suffocate when you sleep, you are able to go into sleep faster. And it's funny because I would go to the doctors and they would say, hey, you need to prioritize your sleep. But I'm like, my sleep sucks. Why would I do that? Like I'll sleep like 4 hours. I'll get up, I'll watch YouTube for 3 hours, and then I'll go back to bed for 2 hours. And then I'll get up and be tired like I was yesterday. Because you get stuck in light sleep for the most of us. Here's how I see it. So deep sleep happens in the first couple of hours of sleep, right? And you can't get good deep sleep if you are nutrient deficient or you have high toxic levels of whatever, or you drink alcohol, do drugs, smoke anything through your mouth. You're going to reduce the deep sleep. So that's where you fix your body. And in the latter part of your sleep stages, you're looking at REM, right? That's where you dream and your brain cleans itself. But if a lot of people don't realize that as soon as you hit REM, and if your upper airway muscles aren't tight and in proper position, that tube collapses. And so it pulls you right back out. And that's why you're not dreaming a lot of the times, is because you can't stay in REM long enough to have decent amounts of that brainwave activity. And so the funny thing is when you wake up tired, you are looking for outside sources of energy. So like when I was chronically sleep deprived, and that's basically what it is when you're waking up several times a night to use the bathroom, or you're snoring and you're tossing and turning, I would look for caffeine. I was a sugar addict. I would sedate myself at night with alcohol. I didn't care about mouth breathing, so I would smoke if the opportunity arose. And all of those things were making that next night of sleep worse. So it was like this perpetual constant vicious cycle. It was
we see copper toxicity. It really messes with people falling asleep initially. That's where that's one thing we see hit people a lot. So yeah, that's a big fun one. So yeah, we'll work on all of this stuff. Let's see. I know now that like a lot of, I'm hearing from you and I'm going, because I've always known that staying asleep was an issue for me. Even with all the things I did and all the things I knew, even with like the blue light and all that stuff. And I was going, why is this not working why do I hear other people sleeping so much better than me and I'm not? And then now I'm starting to go, okay. As soon as I started the Myo-Nozzle, I was watching my sleep scores and my sleep scores started improving as soon as I started it. So it was very obvious to me that that was part of it. So I can thank Kelsey for watching you on Instagram and then telling me about the Myo-Nozzle and I should get it. And then I did. So I do that. So, okay. So let's see this. Oh, let's talk about kids. Okay. So how does kids' airway health affect them?
So with kids, so we know that we have research now showing that this is happening in utero, like this craniofacial growth deficiency. They're seeing it in the ultrasounds. And so these kids are coming out with tongue ties. They are coming out with retrognathic mandibles, high arch vaulted palates. Their tongue isn't staying suctioned. Like they're not swallowing properly in utero, which is causing, like Wolff's Law, right? The bones not to grow properly. And then we're not catching it. Unfortunately, right now, I mean, we're seeing the tides change, but like they'll say, oh, well, we won't put you into braces until you've lost all of your baby teeth. And then you've got like this whole other wing of people who are looking at the airway like, no, if the teeth don't fit, that means the bones didn't grow right. And if the bones didn't grow right, then you have less room for air in your nose and your throat all the way down to your lungs. And a lot of kids are being raised on these squishy diets. Human beings, like the anthropology department says that we used to chew for 4 hours a day on tough, tenacious foods before the Industrial Revolution, where we canned everything and made it squishy. We used to chant and sing and jump around and chew on sticks to brush our teeth. Like there's a lot of things that we no longer do that's impacting the ability for the upper airway to grow forward optimally. And noxious habits, sucking on shirts, thumbs, pacifiers, you name it. I mean, I had this one kid, he would sit in class like this all day in every class. And he had honestly shifted the bone. Like half of his jaw had developed properly and the other half had an indent in it just from the pressures of his hand. So when people say, it's bone, it's hard as bone. Well, bone's not concrete. It moves with forces. And we see this with osteoporosis. We know it can change. It can either be for the better or for the worse. And I guess ideally in the perfect world, kids would be seen at a dentist by the age of 3 for airway specific concerns. I mean, we want to see them before they have teeth because then you really get on it because you could talk about pacifier use past 6 months old. But at the age of 3 to 7, we can really manipulate the way the airway is growing, like the space, expansion, orthodontics, getting the tongue to work properly so that it gets the face to grow up and forward. And then the teeth line up because they have plenty of bone to grow into. A lot of people just think it's the teeth fault. They're like, oh, they've crowded crooked teeth. I'm like, no, they have less bone. So the teeth just had to fit in where they could. And there's less bone because there's something wrong with the way they're swallowing, the way they're breathing, where their tongue is resting. And it's all connected to like those chewing forces, right? Because muscle dictates bone. And if we're not using these muscles of our upper airway, we're not going to develop the bone that it takes to keep this patent tube patent.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but the one thing I wanted to add that's kind of funny. So you're talking about kids being born with these issues, and I talk about how toxicities and deficiencies, like we are made of what our parents were made of for better or worse. And so there's not a lot of obviously muscle stress and bone stress going on in utero. So what is causing this? We talked a little bit about something like 80% of kids are being born with jaundice, so their liver's behind when they're born. And then we know that vitamin A, there's entire papers on it causing cleft lips and cleft palates. They can induce vitamin A toxicity in mice and rats and cause changes in their skull and their face. Copper, I just saw the other day, can cause cleft lips. So, and all the other toxins we talked about, glyphosate actually slows down the detox of vitamin A in the body. So then they build up more. And you've got alcohol and folate deficiency and all these things that go in the same pathways. And so, but the thing I want to tell you folks is, like, let's say you're listening to Ronda's stuff and so there are actual physical things that you can do to change the muscle activity and the bone structure. And then we work on that can do it. However, if you also work on the toxicities and deficiencies, then you don't have that continued resistance working against what you're trying to do. You see how we're doing it? So we get rid of the biochemical causes or the drivers, and then we also do the physical changes to manipulate it back to the way it can be. And I think this can be done. I mean, I'm seeing it in a month and a half of the Myo-Nozzle and then doing my mouth guard, and I'm feeling changes already. I think our people are going to get amazing results with stuff like yours because we're already working on the toxicity that a lot of other people aren't. So I think it's a very exciting time for us, for our people. I mean, it's an exciting time for people to learn about this from anywhere, but without these things getting in the way, I think it'll go even faster for people. So, so let's go into, where was it? Oh, so, okay. So let's talk about, you've got a list here of some simple nightly improvements, like nighttime routine kind of things that people can do to help their airway health through the night. What are some of those?
So, that sleep hygiene, you guys, there's so much to be said for it, especially like at night. The whole goal of what I try to teach people is we want to make it as easy as possible for you to get air in and out of your body while you sleep. And so that last hour, you could do the tongue exercises. I'm a huge, big fan of foam rolling to release the fascia around the floating ribs and the spine and the cervical spine. Because, I mean, a lot of this, the breathing is impacted by sitting. And I'm going to be sitting with you for how long? And I sit in a car, and I sit at work, and I sit on the toilet, and I sit while I watch TV. Like, sitting is, they say it's the new smoking or whatever, but they're not wrong. It impacts our ability to get air in and out of our body just because of the restricted fascia from being in these repetitive postures. Big fan of doing like head work. Not everybody can do headstands, nor should, but
like inversion stuff.
Inversion. Yeah. I mean, because you've heard that report about lengthening telomeres. So it's a nice little thing, but I just get on your hands and knees, you guys, and just roll around on your head, massage your head. If you have hair, which, by the way, yours is growing beautifully, pull on it a little bit. Just a lot of people don't realize that the muscles in your face are attached to each other. They're not like long bones. So a lot of these facial tensions that we live with because we're compensating for a weak tongue that's not working properly and is staying down. If we release, again, we're just playing catch up, right? So we're addressing what happened, and we're just working our way back out of all the compensations. Blowing your nose. I'm a huge fan of this, you guys. And I know you too, Dr. Smith, talk about this. Take a shower every night, like an hour before you bed, nice and steamy. I want you humming in there. So inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. You can either hum a tune or just find a pitch that you're comfortable with and blow your nose. We're using all of that moisture just to get in there and help us loosen that mucus. The vibration stimulates the vagus nerve. It produces more nasal nitric oxide on the nasal exhale, which is a vasodilator. We are, all of us know that nitric oxide is the miracle molecule. And so let's just make more of it and be our own little factory. And I think there's a lot to be said about reducing blue light exposure. I have a 3-2-1 rule that I share with my clients. So it probably sounds something similar to yours, but 3 hours before bed, I stop consuming solid foods. 2 hours before bed, I reduce the copious amounts of liquid intake. So if I need to take like a supplement or whatnot, a shot of water here and there. 1 hour before bed, I reduce blue light because I know that it's like an antagonist for melatonin. And then 30 minutes before bed, I stop talking. So if you need to engage in conversation with your partner, just do it prior to 30 minutes before sleep, because if you can set the tone for your breathing pattern and you make it slow and silent through your nose, when you lay down, it's a lot easier to keep that pattern.
Cool. I just want we still have that lag going, so it's no big deal. I always want to make sure I'm letting you finish talking because there's like that lag. So that's a really good. I like that 3-2-1 thing. I think folks, you will sleep better. This has been known a very long time. You will sleep better the further away from your bedtime your dinner is, that you can manage to not be hungry. Like, you'll just sleep better. It's just known. Like, you go to sleep on a full stomach, you're not going to sleep well. So don't have, like, sometimes at our house, because of things, I might be eating, I'm going to bed at 9 and I might be eating at 7 or even 8. And I'm going, oh, dang it. I didn't want to do this. But yeah, that's a great thing. That's in your book, right?
It is. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, you guys, this may be like one of the best values for your health of a book out there available to help you sleep better. Because remember, that's like a third of your life. So you want to make sure that's good. But that's a really great list. Actually, what was I going to ask you about? I had something else I wanted to ask you about. Maybe I'll remember it if we go through the chat. So that was all the questions. Oh, Buteco.
Yes.
Yes. So I just wanted to say, Wardy, who's a huge fan of ours. I've done a live stream with her, and then Kelsey, they've been working on their apnea a lot together. We have a little group chat where they're all working on it. And Wardy was telling me about Buteco, and I've had lots of people in the chat mention it too. And I'm going, okay. Once I see enough signs, I go, I need to start looking into this more and doing. I've heard great things about it. I just never got around to looking into it. So tell us how you feel about that.
It is improving your CO2 tolerance. So CO2 is the body's signal to take the next breath. So if I want to slow down my breathing at night, I have to improve my CO2 tolerance.
Oh, wait. We didn't go over this. Go down the slowing down of your breathing. So, because we talked about it, but I don't think you said it to everybody else with the snoring and the slowing down of the breathing.
Oh, okay. My favorite analogy. In order to snore, what two things must be present? One, you have to breathe really fast, right? In order to suck those tissues in, and you have to breathe really hard. If I am breathing through my nose, slow and silently, it is impossible virtually to snore. You have to create turbulence in order to create that resistance of airflow. And so a lot of people are like, oh, that makes more sense. Like if I change my breathing patterns, then even if I'm breathing in and out through a small constricted area, I won't pull the tissues in and I won't make that sound, because healthy, normal breathing is slow and silent through your nose. Like, it should be inaudible. So if you want to know like what my goals would be for anybody who wants to breathe better while they sleep, is to have slow and silent nasal breathing the way we were intended to. Because anytime you hear audible breathing, that is a sign the body is struggling to get air in and out of it. And I think that I want to hammer this home, because a lot of people, they turn their head when they see me coming, because they're like, oh, I don't have sleep apnea. I'm like, no. Okay. Audible breathing is dysfunctional sleep breathing. It doesn't have to be so bad that you stop breathing. And so I have to make that distinction with a lot of people, because they don't realize that a lot of us have audible breathing, and it may not be consistent, like sounds through your nose or through your mouth, but it is not normal to be able to hear someone breathe while they sleep. And that's funny too, because we talked a little bit about lip taping, right? So that's ensuring that you have nocturnal lip seal so that you can functionally breathe while you sleep. So that's just one little biohack, right? Is to guarantee that I'm not breathing through the wrong hole, at least if I'm not doing any of the other stuff. But the thing about that is, when I put lip tape on, before I found Buteco, I was breathing through my nose and I was snoring. And my husband like gave me the whole elbow. I'm like, because in my head, I thought only people who snored through their mouth. I didn't realize that we could do it through our nose too. And that's when I was like, oh, I need to fix, I'm breathing too hard and too fast. I love Buteco. It's Buteyko. But Patrick McKeown, I think I own every book he's ever written. The
he wrote the breathe. He wrote the breath book, right?
The Breathing Cure, Breath. Well, no, Breath was James Nestor. But,
James Nestor. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Patrick McKeown. He has. It's somewhere on here. He's got a whole shelf, and it's amazing. Like, if you want to know enough about the connectedness of dysfunctional breathing to ailments that you may be facing, this book is a brilliant read. And it kind of connects the dots for a lot of people so that they stop mouth sighing. They start extending their nasal exhale. They stop holding their breath. They start engaging their diaphragm. And there's apps that are free for Android and iPhone that just type in BUTEYKO. And they have a lot of ones where it's just super free and super simple. They'll just walk you through. Inhale, exhale, and hold. So the neat part, everybody's like, oh, I already do breath work. I'm like, but most modern breath work that's not Buteyko is holding the inhale, whereas Buteyko is holding the exhale so that you build up your CO2 tolerance and you can actually slow down the breathing patterns.
That's so do you go, I just wanted to know, do you go over any of the Buteyko stuff in your book, or in the book do you suggest the apps too?
I suggest the apps, but I tell you that there's specific exercises that would be found in chapter 3.
Okay.
Sorry, chapter 2, make your nose work better.
and I'm guessing, which I really love about your stuff, where you distilled down the tongue exercises to 5, and I'm guessing you've distilled the Buteyko stuff down to a couple of your favorites too. Is my guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's one, most of it is called a controlled pause. So it's basically timing yourself. There's a couple of rules, right? So you want to do it in bed before you've talked in the morning, because you don't want to have that manipulate your numbers. But you'll inhale through your nose, you'll exhale through your nose. Before the end of the breath, like there's still a little bit of air in your lungs, you pinch your nose and you see how long you can tolerate it. How long you can tolerate it is how tolerant you are to CO2. If you have to let go right away, that means you have a very low tolerance to CO2, which means you're going to overbreathe. But if you can hold it like 20 seconds or more, then you're doing pretty snarly. I mean, that's pretty good. Like and the elite performers can hold it up to a minute. And I think it's what the best part about it is you can gradually watch yourself get better. Like do it once a week. Lay in your bed, grab your phone, do the timer, and say inhale, exhale, pinch, and hold. How long can you comfortably hold that exhale before you have that first distinct desire to breathe or like a urge? And you can see yourself get better.
Awesome. That's great. Well, so I think that was all the questions that we had organized for you. So can you stick around for a bit and we'll go through what we have in the live chat?
Absolutely. Love to.
Awesome. Okay. So for those of you who are here, we do give priority to super chats if you want to post one, but otherwise I'm just going to start at the top of the list and go down with what we see if it's applicable. So let's see. Let's see. Kelsey has lots of comments. Let's see. We may not have a lot of questions. If you guys have questions about what she went over, now's the time to ask them. I'm sure most of them will be answered in the book, but that's still okay. So here was this is, you kind of went over this, but we'll just hit on it again. What can one do for a deviated septum that is non-surgical?
I love external nasal dilators.
Go inside your nostrils, right? They just kind of hold open your nostrils.
So like this one's called intake. It uses 2 magnetized stickers and it dilates your nostrils. So it's unlike a nasal strip where standard nasal strips prevent collapse of the valves, where this one not only prevents the collapse, but it actually makes them wider. So again, the name of the game is to make it as easy as possible to get air in and out of your body so you can get better sleep.
Yeah, I think I saw those on
there
Instagram.
is a ballooning technique. Yeah, they're brilliant and they're comfortable. A lot of people don't like the internal dilators because they'll make your tissue a little bit raw. They'll be hard to like stay in at night or find the right size. And so these dilators, they come in like a 4-pack. So you'll pick which size fits the most to your anatomy. There's a technique called ballooning. I think it's called ballooning. They're using it for people with concussion therapy, where they take like a finger cot and they put it on the end of a blood pressure pump, and they'll insert it. They'll do 3 above the, the anatomy of the nose. They'll do 3 insertions on the right, 3 on the left. And I mean, the sphenoid is what they're trying to get to, right? To create that pressure. Some people have tried it and it's worked for them. I think that's, case specific. And I don't know how much literature we have to show that it uprights any septums specifically. I know that palatal expansion has been shown to help. There's a couple of different ways to do it. So they have SARPE, which is surgically assisted rapid palatal expansion, or MARPE, which is mini implant assisted rapid palatal expansion. There is MMA, which is maxillomandibular advancement surgery. A lot of these have been shown to upright deviated septums. But in my book, I have a deviated septum. I'm going to leave it as is because I've habituated nasal breathing just fine, working with what I have, and just avoiding the foods that cause inflammation or excess mucus, making sure I use this guy. My favorite analogy, Dr. Smith, is actually frozen pipes. So I live in Montana, and it's cold here a majority of the year. And if you leave your home or dwelling and you don't leave the water dripping, your pipes will totally freeze up and they'll burst, and it's awful. And I tell people, it's kind of like your nose. Like if you don't leave it dripping by breathing through it all day, then when you go to lay down at night, it's going to clog up. Those pipes are going to be frozen. And of course it's going to be, because I have a ton of people that are like, I can breathe through my nose when I stand up, but as soon as I lay down, it clogs up. I'm like, how much were you actually breathing through it during that day to keep your pipes loose?
Yeah. That's actually, I there was a period where I got into the strips, and I was doing an internal dilator and the strips, and the amount of air that could go through my nose when I did either one of those, but when I did them both together, I was like, you mean I could breathe like this all the time? and then of course I stopped doing it because I didn't know the importance of it. But I do want to say I probably slept better during those days. I just got lazy and I stopped doing it. So,
and that's, we talk, I know you don't like the word protocols, but we talk about like techniques, right? And what's your armamentarium? What kind of tools do we have to make the software better in the existing hardware?
Right. Yeah, I would say, well, I mean, I wouldn't say that you have a protocol. You just have things that you offer like that. And so people are going to pick and choose what works best for them. So that's not necessarily like a protocol would be like you do A, B, C, D, E, F. And if you don't do all of them, it's not going to work. But if you give them kind of a menu and you're like, these are all the things that you could do. And like, I already knew that like the nasal strip thing worked like amazingly for me. So it's like, oh, I can just go back to that one. And I already know that it works. So yeah. So that's why I just don't like protocol. I just don't want everybody to think they have to do the same thing, because everybody doesn't.
We're like snowflakes. We're all unique. We all have the same problem. We just have to come at it from different angles. Yes. Like there's a whole chapter in the book about nasal congestion, right? Mm-hmm. But if you say, Rhonda, my nose is always open, I'm like, just skip it. Go to the next one.
That's not your problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep looking for stuff. Let's see. Eliza, yeah, we got your comment. I posted the link you were looking for. Oh, what do you think? So your opinion, what do you think of like certain watches or monitors that people can do at home for if they're trying to assess their own sleep apnea and they don't want to go to a sleep study or any of that stuff? Is there anything you like in particular?
I do. I have I think it's called a Withings mat. I have an Apple Watch, which, by the way, the 9 and above on the Apple Watch has FDA clearance to detect sleep apnea. So it's a great resource to use if you think you are apneic and you want your doctor to take you seriously. Like you can show them your report because it'll show like oxygen desaturation. At the end of the day, I mean, these wearables are great. There's compromise, right? So EMFs we have to worry about. Like I use a EMF band with mine. I put it on airplane mode, turn Bluetooth off. I try to minimize my exposure. And I like the data. But I also know that it's only about 70% accurate. because it's not a diagnostic tool for a lot of us. So I look for just key markers, and it could be sleep duration, right? I want to sleep 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours. I want to look at sleep latency, like how long did it take me to fall asleep? I want to fall asleep between 1 and 20 minutes, because I'm going to get healthy, good sleep that way. I want to know if there was disturbance. Did I wake up? And it'll show you like a little spike. Yeah, you got up to use the bathroom 3 times. Like, that's not normal. I want it to give me oxygen saturation. 95% and above, people. That is what you want. Very few people get 100% oxygen saturation. But if you can go 95 and above, you can get better sleep quality because you're not in this window where you would become apneic or have hypoxia or something where you can't get air in and out of your body. And I think that's really helpful. A lot of people don't realize, like, oh my gosh, my average oxygen saturation was 89%. I'm like, dude, if you were in a hospital, they would have you hooked up to supplemental oxygen. That's bad. But you do it every night, and it's your normal, and it's your baseline. And to have those metrics and be able to see, hey, I'm doing all the stuff he said in the book, and I'm looking, and it's getting better, just like you did with your REMplenish Myo-Nozzle. You could see in the metrics that there was a gradual improvement, even if it's not as accurate as you would get from like a Knox T3 home sleep test or even an in-lab sleep test. I think it's a good metric to measure your progress with. But I also think it's important to have good biofeedback. It's one thing for me to look at these scores and be like, oh, okay, I did good. It says I was like a 95 last night on my percentage. I'm like, cool. But did I wake up tired? There's so many people that'll look at that score and be like, I got an 86, like today's shot. I'm like, no, that's not how this works. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're not, like your sleep should make you tired? Do you feel not tired? So I use them. I've used the Pillow app on my Apple Watch for 6 years. So okay. I can document all the way back from fragmented sleep to now. So like I said, 95 last night was my sleep score.
Wow, that's great. So yeah, the wearables too, sometimes, like, I don't like them super tight. So I think sometimes if it's too loose, it can give you funky scores. And so just, you always have to take it with a grain of salt. Actually, my last guest, Greg, we were talking about how when we were doing wearables and watching our sleep, like our sleep got worse because we had this anxiety about like performing, like we want to get a good sleep score, right? And he was saying he had to completely stop wearing it because it just ruined his sleep. And I somehow got around it, and I just said, I stopped wearing it for a bit, and then I was like, I'm just going to wear it and not care about the score. And maybe I check it, maybe I don't. And if I don't check it, I'm not fretting. I definitely don't check it as soon as I wake up, because then I know that I'm anxious about it.
Exactly. And like I said, it's helpful to see if you're moving the needle. Yeah. Especially if you're looking at oxygen saturation, because most of them are pretty good about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's different settings, folks. You got to look up the settings for the like pulse ox and all that stuff. And it'll use up your battery quicker if you do it all day long. And but you can set it for sleep apnea stuff where it checks it more often at night. So you're getting a more information out of it. So just, and make sure you get one that you can turn off the EMF, as she was saying. We always like that. The Garmin ones, the Vivo Smart, we can turn them off. And that's the one I have. I just won't spend too much money. I got a Ring-Con. Have you seen the rings? I swear I don't know if it's the EMF on it. I could turn it off, but I could feel the whole time the ring was on. I could feel it. It was almost like not a buzz, but it was something where I was going, like, I could constantly sense the ring was on me. And I was like, I do not like this. I am not wearing this thing. Because it never let me forget that it was on. So even with everything turned off. So, okay. So let's keep going. What else did we have? You guys, if you're in the live chat, you should go and read all of Kelsey's comments, because Kelsey's made tons of comments about her experiences. And we'll go over those in our episode. So one question was, any dangers or side effects of using magnets on your face?
Oh, interesting. I don't know.
I don't know of any. I mean, there's magnet therapies out there.
Yeah, they have one for the Third eye.
Yeah, right.
Me out here.
I would think this is where Greg and I were talking about this last week with like the walking pad, where just the amount of low level activity. So think of it as like you want to sleep well. And when you're sleeping, you want to sleep. And when you're awake, best would be to be moving, even at super low intensities. Like the more we move during the day, the healthier you're going to be. So when you're awake, you want to be moving. It's like yin and yang, right? You're awake, moving, asleep, breathing well, but you're still, right? So, but somebody was saying, what about the EMF on this walking pad? Because he found it's a little walking pad. So it's like a little mini treadmill without the big handle thing on it. And somebody said, well, what about the EMF? And Greg said, well, there's going to be a motor in it. So there's going to be EMF, but the benefits of it probably way outweigh the EMF. Well, with something like this, the benefits, probably the magnets, if you can breathe better, like remember, what's the first thing you're going to do when you're born, right? The first thing they got to do is they got to get you breathing, right? So I'm kind of like, and you only can live 2 or 3 minutes without breathing. So breathing is very, very important. EMF is an issue, well, this isn't even EMF. I mean, this is magnetic, right? But I would think that breathing better way outweighs any concern about the magnets. And I think, tell me, Rhonda, I haven't used these magnets, but the magnets are not directly the metal's not touching your skin.
No, it's embedded in latex.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. I don't know if you can see, but it's in between 2 layers. Yeah.
And those come off that, or do those stick on there? Do they stay on there, or do they?
No, this is just the sticker pad.
Yeah, you peel off the back, right? Yeah, cool. Okay. So, but yeah, we do not consent. I would look up magnet therapy. I would definitely, there's quite a bit of it out there. Nikken, Nikken, like their whole thing is magnets. So, I wouldn't be terribly concerned about that. Okay, so should you keep your mouth closed when running or exercising? And let me add the next part. Is mouth breathing bad during aerobic exercise? I have my answer. I'll let you do yours first.
A great resource outside of me is called Oxygen Advantage. They're working with like Navy SEALs and triathletes, and mouth breathing actually causes you to lose oxygen. So a lot of people don't realize that you need that CO2 to deliver that oxygen molecule to the end of your exertion, right? So you're using these muscles and you need to get oxygen to your extremities. And when you mouth breathe, you're basically hyperventilating and you are causing an oxygen deprivation in the system. Now, it takes time and effort, and the right people, they have like a breathing band you can put on. They have a VO2 max mask that can help with training your body to functionally breathe during high exertion. Now, in my opinion, I'm not a triathlete. Like I'm just a regular Joe who likes some cardio. I get like 10,000 steps a day. When I do raise my heart rate so much that I can't catch my breath, I will just slow down. I let my breathing dictate my endurance. So instead of sacrificing my oxygen uptake, I will just start walking again if I'm at a high pace and I can't maintain nasal breathing. With that being said, you will every now and then have to offload that excess CO2 built up in the body from using your muscles. And so like I see it being appropriate to have like a mouth sigh here and there when you feel like you're having a hard time catching your breath. But yeah, honestly, like you'd be a better athlete. Your performance would be better. Your oxygen saturation would be better if you functionally were breathing while you were in high endurance.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I kind of look at it. I've simplified it to the point of like, if you generally think of mouth breathing as panic breathing, like that's the, oh crap, I'm in big trouble now. So if you're very quickly mouth breathing, you're either, and if again, with your nasal or like the airway hygiene, like if you can't breathe through your nose, even when you're awake and you're always snotty or inflamed or whatever, that needs to be fixed. So you're not breathing through your mouth while you're exercising. So, yeah, breathing as much through your nose. I specifically, I'll do something similar to you. Like if I'm doing anything where I get to mouth breathing, I'm like, okay, let's ratchet it back. And maybe next time we just do less so we can keep nasal breathing. And then what happens is you get stronger, you can get stronger at your nasal breathing levels. that then eventually you'll be back up to that mouth breathing level while you're still nasal breathing. So that would be the idea, is you're trying to train yourself to get better and better and better at nasal breathing. So that elevates the, oh crap, I have to mouth breathe now level if and when you get there. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to say, similar to what you were saying, is nasal breathing all the time. If you get to the point where you really have to get more air out, then you could still breathe in through your nose. The next stage would be nose in and mouth out. So you're not inhaling through your nose is one of the things I've done. But it's still even better to get back to the point where you can do all nasal breathing. But yeah, I got my heart rate up to, people say, but you can't get your heart rate up. I got my heart rate up to 170 beats per minute going up this huge hill on my bike, completely nasal breathing in and out. So you can get your heart rate plenty high if you train nasal breathing and you stick with it, and you don't just like immediately go to the panic mouth breathing. So is it much more is it better to nasal breathe as much as you can? Yes, that would include exercise. Absolutely. Yeah. So anything else you want to add on that while I look for another question?
Well, because you're training, right? So as you're starting to train yourself to be a nasal breather during high endurance, they have the Myo tape, which I really like. I'll show you guys.
That would be intense.
It goes around the lips, so it's just there, like as tension, if you will. So it'll help remind you when you're in the middle of, your third mile, like, okay, lips closed, but it still gives you the option to offload the CO2, and take a lot of tissues with you, because you'll see, like the first mile or two, you just start to detox and stuff is just running out of your face.
Yep. Awesome. So let's see. We do not consent with the live chat. You should be able to, when you watch the video later, there should be an option that you either wait a couple days for the video to upload, and sometimes the live chat comes up later, but you should also be able to like optionally turn on the live chat so you can see the live chat as it was going during this live stream. So it should be accessible. No, Joe was asking, do the magnets repel one another to keep the nostrils open more? Is that how it works? I'll let you explain.
No, the structure of the dilator is metal, like the inside of it is. And so that is what the magnets are attracted to, is these little, I guess, opposing ends. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to describe that. No, you're right. That's the magnet is going to stick to those two magnets here.
Yeah. So Joe, what it does is the two little magnets, they have sticky stuff on them, and you stick the sticky stuff here, and then the dilator has the right polarity to stick to the magnet, and then the metal in the dilator is pulling it open, right, Rhonda?
Yep, I'm going to show you in real time.
Oh, cool.
So you take the stickers. They come with like a little handle if you have dexterity issues. And then you put it on the nostril. And then usually you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of oil in your skin, because you want it to last all night. And then you just find the size that fits you, and it keeps the nostrils open. So it makes it really hard for them to collapse. I have, like, when you get your initial kit, they come with different sizes because we're snowflakes, right? Right. We're a little different, but they have different sizes in here to fit your anatomy. And then once you get the size honed in, then all you have to do is replace the stickers for nightly use.
So I'm not sure if I saw the one that you're referring to, but did they have ones where that's like different strengths of the dilator, like how intensely it pulls apart, or is it just different sizes for different nodes?
I think that confuses people. I don't know what is the different strength. It's just what size fits you.
Okay.
For dilation.
I mean, because you only need so much.
Right. And if I put the large one on, it's going to fall off in the middle of the night, right, because my tissues just won't expand like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw those and I thought that would, if it really worked as well as they said it does, I was like, that's really good. Cause now you got influencers wearing them like all, nasal strips, like all day long. They do their videos with them on and everything. And I'm like, wow, they must really have, they need to talk to you so they can fix that. So they can fix their inflammation and all that stuff. So they don't have to wear it all day.
Yeah, and just learning to flare your nostrils. I mean, if you look at about like the muscles around the nose and the valves, if like I would say about an hour a day where I flare my nostrils. I just keep the muscles dilated.
Wow.
So it's not all in 1 hour period. Like it's called a 3% smile. So I just lift the corners of my mouth and I flare my nostrils. And so basically I'm strengthening the entire mid face when I do that.
I feel that little, you can feel it. You do that little teeny smile and you can feel your nostrils go with it. I would say that actually it seems to me that like if you were doing decent cardio and you were emphasizing nasal breathing, you're probably going to do that automatically as well.
Yep.
Your body's going to be like, well, we could just dilate our nostrils a little bit.
Get more air in.
Breathe. So I'll hit on this one real quick. Casey Olden asked, good afternoon, Dr. Smith. My question, are the copper EMF products safe? If it's touching your body, I wouldn't touch it. Don't put copper on your skin. Don't. You'll absorb it. Yep. If it's an electromagnetic thing, I don't know. I like the EMF solution stuff. What I know works for me and my family is the EMF solution stuff, and Kelsey likes it too. So that's what we use, and that there's no copper in that, and it's not touching your skin generally either. Not that I'm worried about that, but it's just that's what I like. That's what I found is the most cost effective and most effective in my experience. So I'm not going to buy one of those like $3,000 weird pyramids to put in the middle of my house that I don't know works. So, okay. Okay, so Zachariah has a little endorsement. He says, I'm literally lifting right now, just hit a set of lat pull downs, only breathing through the nose, and I did not feel nearly as exhausted. So you guys, okay, when you are exercising, let me just say this before you jump in. Folks, exercise, you should be training yourself to be as least stressed as possible while you're exercising. So if you're like making faces in your warm-up set, like train yourself to be stone cold. Like your face doesn't change while you're lifting. And if you start doing this, then you're dipping into, just think, are your face muscles helping you lift? They don't help you lift. Your body starts recruiting everything it possibly can to try to help you lift. And then you're training. Well, then you see people, some of you out there may be doing this. You'll see your warm-up sets. You'll be making faces in your warm-up sets. You're doing all the bad habits in your warm-up sets because you've trained yourself to do this like maximum face effort very easily when you don't need to. So how about we do the opposite? We train ourselves to be like stone cold, like you do it. And then when the rep starts slowing down, you stop. So those are the two signs you can do. One, your face changes and you cannot stop it from changing. Sometimes you can catch yourself and you can be like, ooh, I did the face, the pain face or whatever you want to call it. And you can get out of it. You can realize it was just a bad habit from before and you can get it back. But if the weight starts slowing down significantly, you're done. And then if you do those two things, like people will come out of their workouts feeling nowhere near as exhausted because you didn't go, like as Lee Haney, the Mr. Olympia said, he trained hard, but he said, stimulate, don't annihilate. You just need to stimulate it. You don't need to destroy it. So this is one of the things, if you want to lift for longevity and you want to train for longevity, like you are training to be as stressed as little as possible during your exercise. Then you're not wasting your stress. Okay. So that's just, I wanted to add that in there.
No, I love the crossover. For my favorite quote is breathe for your metabolic need. So James Nestor did a really great job. He made an analogy once. He says, so when you're over breathing or you're mouth breathing, it's like sitting at a red stoplight and you've got your foot on the brake and the gas pedal. And so like, of course you're going to overdo it because you're not breathing for your metabolic need. That you're in fight or flight. You're stuck on, you can't break that rest and digest mode because your foot is on the gas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You want to, like, if you're going to stress your body with exercise, don't add more stress to it by like mouth breathing or by doing your shoulders up to your ears or making faces. Like, take all that stuff out and train to think of it. If you are lifting weights and you're not looking stressed, and that's kind of cool, isn't it? Like, you actually start getting up to decent weights and people in the gym are looking at you like you're a Terminator because you're not making faces like everybody else is. But then you're training yourself to not be stressed under stress. See? So then that feeds forward. It's like learning how to nose breathe. As you get into more and more intense exercise, you're training yourself to not be stressed under stress. And then you can handle more stress without it getting into your, system negatively. So that's that. I'll let you answer this one, Rhonda. Joe asked, is there anything special about yawning, or what is your take on yawning?
Vagus nerve. I mean, every time I see somebody with poor vagal tone, I see them yawn a lot. And they'll do it too when they start to do the tongue exercises. They're like, why did I make me yawn? And I'm like, well, it's because your vagal tone is really weak. And like all of these things that you're doing are stimulating the 12 cranial nerves, especially when you're exercising the 8 muscles in the tongue. The other side of that is if you go to bed after you've started yawning, you missed your sleep window. So it's time to check your, like, see if you're a lark or like what your sleep, what are they called? Everybody has like a sleep
like
setting.
Triggers or like
yeah, whether or not you're supposed to be a lark or somebody who gets up early in the
that like your pattern, what
phenotype,
type you are?
the phenotype of sleep. Yes. So, but if your sleep time is after you've already started yawning, then you need to jump back and go to bed earlier. Because yawning, I mean, that means you missed your window.
Well, let me ask you this. If, let's say, you fix your airway health and you start fixing these things, could that phenotype change? Have you seen that happen?
I have a ton of people that said I was a night owl until I started breathing better.
Mm-hmm.
But it was almost part of that insomnia from the PTSD of poor breathing. Again, I never prioritized my sleep because I suffocated every night. Like it wasn't restorative or reparative. And so once my sleep actually was healthier, then everything changes. And you want to, like, you strive to go to bed before 10 p.m. because you know that if you can get your eyes shut by 10 p.m., you have a better chance of getting more deep sleep. And if I get more deep sleep and I stay in it longer, then I can fix my body parts and maybe this will stop hurting and that finally heals and I stop babying this old injury that just has taken so much longer than it should to recover from.
Yeah, let me just, I've said this before, folks. Humans are not programmed to be night owls. You're not programmed to go to sleep at 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. That's not normal. That's not good for you. Remember the CDC actually even called shift work. So working at night during the sleep hours, they class it a carcinogenic factor. So as in creating cancer. So whether you're going to work on your sleep stuff with like Rhonda's type of thing, which I suggest, or you're going to work on it by toxicities and deficiencies, like simply fixing magnesium deficiency can help you sleep tons better. Magnesium is necessary for you to relax. So you can hit this from the different angles, but don't beat yourself up if you're a night owl. And you can still say, this isn't good for me. I should be looking for things that would fix it.
Yep.
That's all. There's no judgment.
I always tell people, if we had night vision, then you would have a better argument when you told me you don't go to bed till 1 a.m.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
We
Very
don't have
true.
vision. We're supposed to, have a circadian rhythm. There's a reason that this red light affects us from the sun.
Yes. That's also why I tell people, like, you don't, living in northern climates like you may do, or in these really cold areas, I'm like, just because we can doesn't mean we should. Like, we don't have a lot of hair because we're supposed to get sunlight on our skin. So if you're going to live up there, like, you may have to go to tanning beds or get a sun lamp or do other things because we are made to get sun during the daytime. And yeah, don't do your tanning bed at night either, because that'll screw up everything too. So anyway, okay, so let's keep going. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, that's Tony asked, Do they have latex free items like the nose dilator for those who are sensitive to latex?
I don't know. I don't think this brand, this is the only one. I think they have a patent on it. I'm not sure that they have that available yet.
Okay. Well, the good news is usually folks.
It is latex free. I said latex earlier. Oh. It says drug-free, latex-free, and suitable for sensitive skin.
Perfect. Well, there you go.
Intake.
Is that intake with an E?
I.
Okay. So intake. Okay. And then I think those are, Joe will put up, I think Joe put up your page with your links.
Yes.
So you guys, if you have stuff that you want to look for Rhonda, you can go to her page with all the links to the products she might have mentioned today. Let's see. I think that is, I think that's about all the questions. Is there anything you'd like to plug or say before we wrap it up, Rhonda?
Yes. If you want to breathe better while you sleep, nothing changes if nothing changes. You have to figure out what's causing the airflow issue in the first place. Is it in your nose? Is it the soft palate? Is it your tongue? Is it your sleep hygiene? Is it your sleep posture? And then you have to also know that you can't want this for anyone. This is ground roots modifying, pretty much behavior modification for everything that you do. So if you're watching this and you say, my husband or my spouse or my child snores, you can guide them to doing all of these interdisciplinary treatments. But if they don't consciously put their tongue on the roof of their mouth and do everything they can to make it strong enough to stay suction gently up there, it will be an exercise in frustration. So you do you. If you are struggling to breathe while you sleep, use all the tools in my book, Breathe Better While You Sleep. Definitely start working on a REMplenish Myo-Nozzle every day. Make it easy as possible for you to get air in and out of your body. And then others can follow you. And you can say, hey, I used to snore, or I don't get up to use the bathroom anymore, or I can't remember to drink caffeine, with the 12-hour half-life. There's a lot of things that you have to omit from your life if you really want to slow down your breathing while you sleep. Fortunately, if you guys are watching this, you've already done all the other work. So getting the function down should be the easy part.
That's amazing. And that's how we are very similar. And I have people come and they're like, my dad has this issue. And I'm like, your dad's not here asking me for help. So I don't think he's necessarily interested in it, So remember, folks, what I tell people is the best way to do it is to lead by example. Like, get yourself better. Then when people ask you, wow, you look so rested, or you look like so healthy, or your skin issue's gone, or whatever, then you can be like, oh yeah, remember that thing I mentioned to you? I've been doing it and it fixed it. Or you can say, like, if you look so rested, well, I did all this sleep hygiene stuff. I mentioned it to you that one time. You didn't seem interested, so I didn't talk about it more. But if you want to know more, here's the link. Like, so just... Then there's another thing for that book, the let them theory. Like, people are going to do, the more you push people, folks, the more they push back.
Yep.
So you cannot want it for them. You cannot do it for them. You cannot want it for them. The best way to do it is to do it yourself. And then if they say, oh gosh, my snoring, I woke up with this dry mouth, and you could be like, well, that often happens if you're breathing through your mouth. I fixed that in myself. I used to have that and I fixed it. And just leave it at that. And then if they go, hey, what did you do? Then say it. Just remember, people have to do these things. We're talking about, whether it's my approach or whether it's Rhonda's approach, we're talking about people having to do things. So if they don't want it, they're not going to do it. And then another thing to just forgive people for is if they start doing it and they slip off, just like I was talking about with the nasal dilators and stuff. I was like, I did it. And then I remember now, I go, oh, that really helped me. Maybe I'll go back to that. And so just like when people quit something, they often don't quit it the first time. Maybe they quit it the second time, third time, fourth time. Each time they try to quit, they get better. Well, you can add these things one at a time. You don't have to start on all of it right away. You can just do one thing and see if it helps. And then if it does, keep it. If it doesn't, move on to the next thing. and then just figure out what works for you and go from there. And then you'll assemble your little program and you'll find what works best, and you'll be sleeping better and you'll be feeling better and all that stuff. And it'll be all good for you. So, yeah, I want to thank Rhonda for coming on today. It was really great having you. It was awesome. I'm glad Kelsey introduced us. And, for those of you folks who want to know more about Rhonda's stuff, or you heard about something, some of the links are below. I'm sure you can find, and in your bios on your social media, Rhonda, you have the link to all the products too, right? Like,
you can find me anywhere as Airway Champion. And if I've used it and it works, or clients have told me it works, and then I use it and I say, oh yeah, it does work, I'll put it on there.
Okay, great. Go put your link up there that has them all right now.
It just, and some people are really nice, and they'll say, hey, I really like your product. Everybody I know that's using it loves it. Can I have a discount so that more people would be more likely to try it too?
Awesome. Yes. And then just for those of you folks who remember the EMF Solutions discount, that I talked about that at the start of the show. So if you missed that, it'll be on the recording. And otherwise, I guess we'll wrap it up. So thanks again, Rhonda, for coming, and we will see you guys next week. I will probably be doing a Q&A unless Kelsey and I decide to do our little toxicity and deficiency apnea show while I'm up in Idaho. But otherwise, we will see you all next time. Have a great week. Bye now.